Hi, this is Wishup with your weekly reading. I'm starting this one on Monday, so it's going to go from February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th through February 6th, Friday. And then I'll do another two for the weekend because I just find I think of them separately and I don't know, I just sort of have the feel to do it. You can let me know what you think. Anyway, this is Monday through Friday. And I'm hand holding the camera so that I can show the cards more closely. So hopefully I don't make you sick with all the bouncing around. I've got other things planned, but for now, let's just get to it. I'm also going to spend less time on how I do this so that we can get right to the reading. So this week's I Ching hexagram for the overarching energies is 46, which is Earth here over wind, and that's advancement or pushing upward. And that's really a great place to be at. Right now it's Groundhog Day, which is also St. Bridget's or Imbolc, which is exactly the halfway point between winter and spring. And the previous readings have had a lot to do with new endeavors and brand new ideas. Last week we had the Ace of Swords come in as this great new idea. And so this might be the time when you're really building or nurturing those kinds of ideas. So using the trigrams here, I also pulled 3 cards. So these 3 cards are from a very interesting deck called, ooh, look at all that glare. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'll close up on each one individually. They're from a very interesting deck called Tarot of the Zircus Magi by Doug Thornsjoe. I will put the link to his website. This I got on a Kickstarter, and it's sort of this old-time circus-themed retro deck. It's very interesting. It has kind of a wicked sense of humor, but I really like it, and I thought you might want to see something a little different. So we begin the week with the 3 of Rings. If I can get here so the glare is not horrific on that one. And it's called methodology in this deck. So it's really the idea that you have is starting to build into something. It's starting to take shape and form. It's only 3, so it's still kind of early going, but you're starting to put all the pieces together. And that really might be a time when you start to try to pull in collaborators, and I think that's where the challenges of this week come. Here's the 10 of buckets. Let me get that so you can see that without glare. And if you can see, there's like a trapeze artist, and there's a baby in the carriage being pushed by an elephant. And the 10 of buckets relates to the 10 of cups. The phrase on that is straw house. And unlike the little piggy straw house, which blows right down, straw house in the circus terminology in the Little White Book lets you know that it means a full house. So when you're sold out and you're having a great show and, you know, all things are good, the bills are being paid, and you've got a full house of happy people. So that's what this represents. So I think this represents your desires. Sometimes when you're doing something very new, very interesting, you can feel tribeless, like there isn't anyone who quite understands what you're doing or what you're going through, and you can feel a real need to reach out and get a little validation to help you along your way. And then we get here to the governor of buckets. The governor of buckets would be the king of cups, but he's in reverse. And he's playing this, well, it's not quite a tuba, I guess. It's like a standing horn of some kind. But when we think of the King of Cups, traditionally, we think of someone very trustworthy. That's one of his top characteristics. And here, what we have is someone who might not be trustworthy, someone who's busy blowing his own horn, bragging about what he can do. You can see by playing all the instruments, trying to do it all. So maybe it's someone who comes in who tries to take control of your idea in its early phases, someone who you present it to because you trust them or think of them as a mentor or an advisor, and instead they kind of rain on your parade a little bit, tell you why it's not realistic, or maybe try to exert too much control over it. And that's not what you want. You don't want your desire for this emotional security to lead you to a position where you sell yourself out too early or too cheaply. So let's go over to the major arcana cards. Sorry for my finger continuing to intrude. Okay, so as we look at the major arcana cards that are indicated, which I grabbed from this I Ching hexagram as well, I pull these three major arcana cards, which are the Solitarian, the Wheel of Fate, and La Force. In this deck, it's organized like the Thoth deck, which means the Strength card, or La Force, is actually 11, not 8. And the Solitarian is the Hermit, number 9. The Wheel of Fate you probably recognize as the Wheel of Fortune. So what's kind of interesting to me is that the Wheel of Fortune is halfway through the major arcana, more or less. And we're at that halfway point of winter. And now is the time when you can take a turn towards great fortune, or you might take a turn towards the worst. So it looks like you're at a bit of a turning point, I would say. And the Solitarian really indicates the hermit who seeks his own counsel and his own enlightenment. And of course, the Force, or strength, indicates the strength of character and balancing one's force and one's gentleness. Let me get a little closer on these so you can see how interesting they are. And here's the Solitarian. So I think what's happening here is it might be a difficult week to keep your own counsel. You have this great idea that's like coming up. It's, it's aiming for springtime, right? And so you have this advancement pushing upwards. This hexagram would traditionally mean that you might get a promotion from someone. You might present something to your superiors. You might make great progress, and you might have some great things happen. But I think that the cards indicate you want to be a little bit cautious, that you take good care of yourself, and that you make sure that all of the relationships that you're involved with this project are mutually beneficial. So Mercury is retrograde, and Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius, and for a little while longer. So that's always a good time to, dot your I's and cross your T's and check things. So if you're going into, let's say, a business partnership with someone, or making some other kind of agreement that is helping to promote the work of your heart, you want to be really sure that it is beneficial to both sides, and that it really gets you where you want to go. Because the Governor of Buckets in reverse, he might be promising more than he can deliver, and he might be saying, don't you want to be one of us? Don't you want to be on our team? Don't you want this 10 of Buckets feeling? And it's going to be up to you to say, you know what, but I want my long-term goals more. This hexagram with wind at the bottom, wind is a symbol for small movement. You're making progress. And the fact is, you're making progress because this person wants a piece of it. So while you've got this great thing in progress, don't give it up too easily. Make sure you know what you're getting into at all times. Make sure that you're in mutually beneficial relationships with people who are really supportive of you, who are really giving and understanding you, and not taking more than they're giving, and not raining on your parade. I mean, the Governor of Buckets upside down, if we think of the bucket upside down, it's raining on your parade. So I feel like with this, we've got the presence with these numbers, which I promise not to explain, but the presence of the mystagogue, which would be the Hierophant, is sort of looming in this. And this can be a card having to do with tradition. And so the traditions of the way that things have been done before could be extremely helpful to you, but it might be a wet blanket too. It might be something that holds you back. If someone says, well, but nobody does it that way, so make a deal with us and then do it our way. Okay, now is not the time to do that. Now's the time to keep your own counsel, keep building what you're working on. Because another thing that I sense is that we're really on our way to the sun, based on the numbers here, where we're going is the sun. If the wheel of fate is halfway, right, the sun is the next stop. That's where we're going. And we're going to get there too. Earlier this year, we saw that sort of progress was inevitable. You had everything you needed on the inside. Your internal resources were enough to get you there. So now you've faced some external challenges and some conflicts. Now you might be facing actually an offer from someone who recognizes how great you are. And it's such a relief to have somebody get you and understand you. And you feel like, oh, at last, I don't feel like such a weirdo out in the wilderness. But just be cautious of that offer, because there are people who will genuinely appreciate what you have to give and what you're trying to share, and they're not going to take so much from you. So here are the two cards that are sort of advice cards for the week. So this one is from the Wildwood Tarot, and this one is actually from the Past Life Oracle. And both of these are relatively new decks to me, but I'm excited about them. So these are sort of going forward cards. You know, how do we do what we do for the week? Six of Vessels, reunion. Okay. The arts, isn't that beautiful? Okay. So what this would say, which is kind of interesting, we've got the arts, and then we've got this governor of buckets who's playing these instruments, and we have an instrument here. So the advice seems to be to stick with the artistic vision that you have. Don't let someone sort of turn it upside down on you. Keep with the sense of yourself as an artist. And where we've got this Six of Vessels, which typically in the Rider-Waite-Smith would be sort of going back in time, this says reunion. So it could be a reunion with someone from your past. It could be a reunion with yourself, you know, remembering why you wanted to do what you're doing in the first place. I think that this really indicates a time of continuing to go within a little bit, trying to stay really pure to your vision, not getting overeager about making agreements or about having things be out in the open or needing someone else's approval. It might be a little too early for that yet, but everything's coming along. And the more artistic you stay, the more you work on transmuting your vision, your imagination into the real world. And the closer you stay to that vision, the better off you're going to be, because you're going someplace very exciting. And you don't need to be derailed by someone who tells you they know better than you. Even if they seem further along or more successful, if they offer you something freely and out of appreciation, you can take it. If they offer you something that seems mutually beneficial and you check the details and it looks good, then maybe you want to go ahead. I might wait to sign anything till after the 11th, certainly. After February 11th, when Mercury comes out of retrograde, and even then there's a little bit of a shadow period. So don't feel like you need to rush into anything, but just make sure that you are upholding your vision, because if you don't value it, nobody else is going to value it enough. And realize that your tribe is going to find you. They're going to find you and they're going to appreciate everything that you've done. So while things may feel a little lonely and tough now, I think you're going to be very much rewarded for everything that you're doing. So hopefully that made sense to you. You can let me know what you think of the cards and what you think of the reading and all that kind of good stuff. And I will talk to you later, but have a great week and happy in bulk.